She was trying to go home. Renisha McBride was only 19 years old. A girl with a round face, deep brown skin, a wide smile that tilted slightly to the left, and a quick laugh that her mother said you could hear 2 rooms away. She lived on Detroit's west side. Not rich, not poor, just Detroit. She had siblings, friends, a phone always in her hand. She took selfies with her cousins, posted lyrics to her Facebook wall, and talked often about starting school, doing hair, maybe nursing. She was raised by her mother, Monica McBride, and her aunt, who loved her like a daughter. They'd raised her on straight talk, no-nonsense warnings about the world, and prayers when she didn't listen. She was outgoing. She could be stubborn. She knew how to hold her own, but she was soft underneath. She'd been in some trouble like any teen, nothing serious. Just trying to figure it out, and then one night, everything stopped. It was November 2nd, 2013. Cold, but not freezing. Renisha was driving her friend's Ford Taurus through Dearborn Heights, a mostly white suburb just west of Detroit. It was after midnight, and something was wrong. Witnesses would later say the car was speeding. Renisha wasn't known for that. But that night, maybe she was tired. Maybe she was frustrated. Maybe she was texting. Or maybe she was just trying to get home. She lost control. The car slammed into a parked vehicle at Bramell and Warren. The sound cracked through the neighborhood. Neighbors came out and saw a young black woman stumbling away from the wreckage. Her face was bleeding. She seemed dazed, disoriented. Her phone was dead or gone. No one knows for sure. A man tried to call 911, but when police arrived, she was gone. She had wandered off into the night. She didn't take her purse. She didn't knock on any doors nearby. Just vanished. For hours, she walked. Cold, confused, bleeding from the mouth. Dressed in jeans, sneakers, and a hoodie. She passed streetlights, porches, garages. She walked into the quiet, manicured silence of Dearborn Heights, a place where unannounced knocks in the early morning hours were not greeted with warmth. Around 4:30 a.m., she stepped onto the front porch of 54-year-old Theodore Wafer. She knocked. What happened next would ignite national rage. Wafer later told police he had been asleep. The banging on his door and side windows startled him. He said it sounded like someone trying to break in. His screen door was shut. The solid front door unlocked. He said he didn't know what to do. He didn't call 911. Instead, he went to get his shotgun. 12 gauge. Loaded. He opened the interior door, just a crack, and fired .1 shot. Through the screen, Renisha was hit in the face. Her body collapsed backward off the porch. Her blood spread across the concrete. She was pronounced dead at the scene. He never asked her name, never opened the door, never gave her a chance. Theodore Wafer stood frozen in the doorway, the shotgun still in his hands. Smoke in the air. Silence thick. The screen door swung slightly on its hinge. A girl's body lay motionless beneath the glow of his porch light, slumped backward on the concrete. Her head turned unnaturally to one side. Blood was everywhere. On the steps, on her hoodie, on the edge of the doorframe. He didn't move for several seconds. Then he stepped back inside and called 911. His voice was calm, shaky, but not frantic. He said someone had tried to break into his house, that he'd been scared, that he'd shot them. The dispatcher asked if the person was breathing. Wafer didn't check. He didn't kneel. He didn't even look. By the time paramedics arrived, Renisha was gone. They unzipped the body bag just long enough to confirm the obvious: shotgun blast, close range, trauma to the face. There was no ID on her. No phone. No one knew who she was yet. Just a black girl lying dead on the porch of a white man's home in suburban Michigan. And miles away, Monica McBride was starting to panic. Renisha hadn't come home. Her phone went to voicemail. Her friends didn't know where she was. She wasn't answering texts. Monica called around. Cousins, siblings, her daughter's job. She even called hospitals. But no one had seen her. That night turned into morning. Morning turned into a sickening, breathless day. Finally, a police officer came to the door. Monica's legs buckled before he even said the words. They told her that Renisha had been shot, that it was an accident, that she was dead, shot in the face by a homeowner in Dearborn Heights. They didn't say much else, just that she was gone. Monica screamed. The family collapsed. There is no script for losing a child. No handbook. Just silence, rage, and the unbearable weight of everything you'll never get to say again. The house filled with sobs. Monica locked herself in the bathroom and wept on the floor. They didn't release the name of the shooter. They didn't arrest him. They said it was being investigated, and outside, the world moved on. For a moment, until someone leaked the 9/11 call, until someone whispered the details to the press, until word got out that a black teenager had been shot in the face, unarmed, while knocking for help in the middle of the night. And then the country lit up, again, because it was only a year after Trayvon Martin, only months after George Zimmerman was acquitted, only weeks after people had begun asking, what does it take for a black life to be seen as human? Now another child was dead, this time a girl, this time bleeding alone on a porch, and the shooter still free. The first local news stories were cautious. They used neutral language. Homeowner shoots unidentified woman in Dearborn Heights. They described the girl as believed to be in her late teens or early 20s. They called it a possible break-in. They quoted police sources saying the shooter felt threatened. But then the photo surfaced. Renisha, smiling, brown skin glowing in soft light, big hoops in her ears. The kind of selfie that says I'm young and still figuring it out, but I know who I am. And the moment that face hit the internet, everything changed. At IT was no longer a break-in. It was a girl, the kind of girl you see at gas stations, at hair salons, laughing with her cousins at mall food courts. The kind of girl you knew growing up. The kind who might be late coming home sometimes, but always found her way back. Only this time, she didn't dot by day 3. The hashtags had started. Hashtag Renisha McBride. Hashtag Justice for Renisha. Hashtag Say Her Name. People began sharing stories of when they had knocked on the wrong door, when they had needed help, when they had broken down late at night and hoped someone kind would answer, but no one was talking. About kindness in Dearborn Heights. There was a different narrative emerging there. Theodore Wafer hadn't been arrested. The police said they needed to gather more facts. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office said they were reviewing the case. It was procedural, they claimed. But to Renisha's family and much of the public, it smelled like delay, like hesitancy, like the same old story. A white man says he was afraid, and a black life becomes an acceptable casualty. And then came the toxic details. Some media outlets began mentioning that Renisha had alcohol in her system, that she may have smoked marijuana earlier that day, that she had argued with her friend before crashing the car. They dug into her phone records, her Facebook, her friends. They tried, subtly, to make her a suspect in her own death. Monica McBride went on TV and said enough. My daughter was seeking help, she told reporters, staring into the cameras with fire in her chest. She was scared. She had just crashed her car. She didn't deserve to be killed like an animal. Protesters gathered outside Wafer's home. They held signs, candles. They chanted her name. Local civil rights leaders joined the movement. National figures began tweeting. The parallels to Trayvon Martin were too obvious to ignore. Another unarmed black teenager. Another man claiming fear. Another case where the dead couldn't speak for themselves. The pressure worked. 2 weeks after the shooting, Theodore Wafer was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and felony firearm possession. He was released on $150,000 bond. He didn't speak publicly. His lawyer did, saying Wafer was a man devastated by what happened, that he acted in fear, that he believed someone was trying to break into his home in the dead of night. But the facts were beginning to close in. The door had been shut. The screen had been locked. Renisha never crossed the threshold. He had opened the door, raised the gun, and fired. The trial of Theodore Wafer began on July 21, 2014, inside a Wayne County courtroom packed with reporters, protest observers, and the family of a girl who would never grow old. The air was thick. Every seat was taken. Every hallway watched. Wafer arrived each day in a Navy suit, clutching documents and staring straight ahead. He never looked toward Monica McBride. She never stopped staring at him. The prosecution, led by Assistant Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy, laid the case out with surgical clarity. Renisha was unarmed, seeking help, had not attempted to force entry, and was shot at point-blank range in the face. They emphasized that Wafer never called 911 until after the shooting, never issued a warning, and made no attempt to find out who she was. They brought in crime scene experts, forensic pathologists, gunshot residue analysts. The jury was shown photos of the front porch, blood spatter, the trajectory of the shotgun blast, and Renisha's injuries. The defense claimed self-defense, under Michigan's version of the stand-your-ground law. They said Wafer was afraid, alone, believed someone was trying to break in. They painted a picture of a neighborhood plagued by petty crime and a man at the edge of panic. They admitted he hadn't called the police, said it was adrenaline. They said he fired because he thought the door was coming off the hinges, because he heard banging, because it was 4:30 a.m. and because of everything he assumed when he saw a black figure on his porch in the dark. But they didn't say that part out loud. It didn't need to be said. Everyone in the courtroom felt it. Monica McBride took the stand. Her voice cracked but didn't break. She spoke about her daughter's dreams, her sense of humor, her short fuse, her softer side. She described the frantic hours when Renisha didn't come home. The moment officers told her. The ache of burying her child. At one point, the prosecutor asked if Monica had seen the scene. She nodded. There was blood everywhere, she said. On the steps. On the door. I had to step over it just to stand where she died. The courtroom went silent. The medical examiner confirmed that Renisha had alcohol and THC in her system. She was impaired, yes, but she had no weapons, no tools, no drugs on her person, and no history of violence. The key question was intent. Did Wafer fear for his life? Or did he shoot out of impulse, bias, and a misreading of who Renisha was? Then, Wafer himself took the stand. He told the jury he didn't mean to kill anybody, that he was scared to death, that the pounding on his door wasn't normal knocking. He claimed he thought multiple people were outside. He claimed he couldn't find his phone. He claimed that when he opened the door, his finger was already on the trigger, and it just happened. But the prosecution pressed him. Why not shout? Why not ask who it was? Why not call for help before picking up a gun? He had no answer. In closing arguments, Prosecutor Worthy said, "We cannot live in a world where fear is enough to justify murder." She was a teenager. She needed help. That is not a crime. The jury took less than 2 days. They found Theodore Wafer guilty on all counts. Second-degree murder, manslaughter, felony firearm. He was sentenced to 17 years in prison. Monica McBride didn't smile. She cried, not out of joy, but because the chapter was over, but her daughter was still gone. After the verdict, reporters swarmed outside the Wayne County Courthouse. Cameras flashed. Protesters hugged. Strangers cried openly in the streets. For a moment, it felt like justice, fragile, imperfect, but real. But for Monica McBride, justice was a word too small. It did not fill the empty space at her dinner table. It did not answer Renisha's late-night phone calls or braid her hair in the kitchen. It did not turn the clock back to the moment her daughter knocked on a stranger's door, asking only for help. At the sentencing, Monica faced Theodore Wafer directly. She did not raise her voice. She did not curse. She simply told him what his shotgun had taken. "You didn't just kill my daughter," she said, her words trembling in the courtroom. "You killed a part of me, a part of our family, and you can never give that back." The judge, Dana Hathaway, addressed Wafer before handing down the 17-year sentence. "You made a tragic choice," Hathaway said, "one that need not have happened. You acted with unnecessary and unreasonable fear. And because of that, a young life is gone forever." The case drew national attention, but also fierce debate. Some argued Wafer's conviction was a victory against unchecked stand your ground defenses, laws that had been criticized since the killing of Trayvon Martin. Others said it showed how deeply American culture equates blackness with danger, even when unarmed, even when pleading, even when seeking help. Civil rights leaders called Renisha McBride the daughter of Trayvon, linking their stories as part of the same cycle: young, black, unarmed, and killed because someone claimed feared. In Detroit and Dearborn Heights, Renisha's name became a rallying cry. Murals of her smiling face were painted on buildings. Vigils were held annually. On the anniversary of her death, a scholarship fund was started in her name, aimed at helping young women in Detroit pursue education, something Renisha had planned for herself. Monica McBride turned grief into advocacy. She spoke at churches, community centers, even on national panels about race and justice. She warned other mothers to teach their children how to survive encounters where skin color could become a death sentence. She pressed lawmakers to look again at gun laws that emboldened deadly assumptions. In Dearborn Heights, the house where Renisha died was eventually sold. The porch where her blood stained the concrete was scrubbed clean, repainted. But residents said they could still feel it, the weight of what happened there, the history beneath their feet. And across America, Her story joined a long, painful list. Not the first, not the last, but impossible to forget. Renisha McBride never got to tell her own story. She never got to explain why she knocked on that door, why she walked so far from the crash site, whether she thought she was safe there, whether she believed help was on the other side. But through her mother's voice, her community's love, and the verdict that bore her name, one thing became clear. She deserved to live, and no law, no fear, no locked screen door would ever change that. Truth.